Now, as Sunday approached, the premise of the reflection shifted from what was originally thought into something which is almost the opposite. Originally, the reflection was supposed to go something like this. The phrase, "What would Jesus do?" that some people abbreviate WWJD, became popular in the 1990s and was a personal model for adherents of Christianity who used the phrase as a reminder to live like Jesus lived. And of course, there were bracelets with "What would Jesus do?" I don't know if people still wear them, but they had become popular in the 90s. Very popular with the youth groups back in the day. And I remember watching a comedian on YouTube once lambaste the "What would Jesus do?" movement, citing examples of what Jesus would do. Things like turning water into wine, walking on water, raising his friends from the dead. None of which we can easily do. And of course, we are then going to consider what we can do, short of turning water into wine, as part of our interest in stewardship. However, rather than providing an example of how Jesus is different than us, today's gospel reveals how Jesus is rather just like us, or in some respects, we are just like Jesus. Jesus was not looking to do the work that came his way at the wedding at Cana. It wasn't part of his plan. Jesus was at the wedding like everyone else to enjoy the event. Guests celebrate. The bride and groom worry about the details. If the bride and groom are wealthy enough, they can commission a wedding planner or a chief steward to make their plans so. So, when Jesus' mother came to him and said, "Jesus, there is no wine," well, this is Jesus' day off. He's there to enjoy himself like everyone else. So his time is interrupted. Worse than that, it's interrupted by someone who wasn't minding their own business. He grumbled this sentiment when he was approached by his mother. Jesus said to her, "Woman, what concern is that to you and to me? My hour has not yet come." This is neither your business nor mine. They hired a chief steward. It's his job to sort this out. We should stay out of it. Dealing with this is not part of my Sunday plan. Now, as I said when I was pretending I was doing the children's story, that's not an uncommon response. A response of frustration when your plans are changed are common. They were common for Jesus when you remember that Jesus said to the woman whose daughter was sick, "It is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs." Jesus didn't change his plans right away when he heard that Lazarus was sick, and he waited a few days before he went. Jesus, in the garden prior to his crucifixion, prayed, "Abba, Father, all things are possible for you. Remove this cup from me." Yet his pauses, his grumbling, his pushback is never the end of the story. Jesus is quickly moved and he responds positively. He says, "Fill the jars with water." He says to the woman who wanted her daughter to be healed, "You have answered well." He says to the sisters of Lazarus, "Where have you laid him?" And he says to God in the Garden of Gethsemane, "Not what I will, but what you will. And the consequence of Jesus taking action when his plans change is even more unexpected and spectacular. Everyone serves the good wine first, and then the inferior wine after the guests have become drunk. But you have kept the good wine until now. Go, your daughter is healed. The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen and a cloth about his face. Jesus said to them, "Take off the grave clothes and let him go." And very early on Sunday morning, the women went to the tomb, carrying the spices they had prepared. When they found the stone rolled away from the entrance, they went in. But they did not find the body of the Lord Jesus. Jesus had a plan. Interruptions to that plan cause a pause, and in some cases, reluctance, a groan, or a grumble. Reluctance gives way to a change in plans, and God is glorified in a greater work. This is the model of ministry that Trinity lives out almost every day. If you compare our plans to what we do, you see that changes in course are more common than adhering to the actual plan. And of course, as we prepare for the annual meeting and we review the budgets and the financial report from last year, you will see that all of our teams, except administration, ministry and personnel, and to a large part property, spent much less than planned last year. And some of our projects have been pushed into 2019. The transition report outlines an ambitious vision of Trinity United Church. In most cases, timelines have not been assigned. And we have done much. However, in addition to the plan, there are a variety of new initiatives that were unforeseen. I know last year, the services for all year were laid out. But except for a few Sundays, there have been adjustments to every theme. Some changes are effected the morning of. In May and June, our various teams and council will meet to devise a plan for 2020. Our annual planning meeting will, like all planning meetings, be entered into as if we're deciding what we're actually going to do. But at the end of the day, no matter how well we plan, changes are inevitable, and we will find that much of our work will turn into something aspirational rather than actual. So how do we manage change? And what will be the result? We'll manage change the way Jesus does. Perhaps we'll sigh. Perhaps we'll grumble. Perhaps we'll say, if we respond to this unexpected thing, everything else will become vulnerable to change. Some will ask, why do we plan at all? We will then pick up, respond to the new course, and we will find something better than anticipated. This was the case with Trinity on Tuesday. What it has become is better than we imagined. It is significantly different in some respects, and significantly the same. The change that was a consequence of the reality on the ground is much better than we imagined. Why then plan? We plan because if we do not, we'll not even find ourselves in the right place at the right time to respond to the new situation that forces a modification and an even better outcome. The effects that we initially desired will be rolled into a modified or new plan that sees even better possibilities. So in our case, using Trinity on Tuesday as an example, the change to Tuesday yields Family Fridays. Now we've yet to see how even that will grow into something unanticipated and even better. The end result will be like the wedding at Cana. Jesus did this, the first of his signs in Cana of Galilee, and revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. This outcome was better than eating snacks undisturbed and drinking substandard wine. Amen.